This is going to be our second example. I'm not going to work through every single part of this because parts E and F you do the same way for all the problems basically. You're just going to evaluate and work it out. So watch the previous video and ask me questions if you need help on those two. But this graph is a little bit different. The first thing about it is the time. Okay, so it says take a second to read the question. Okay. And the doctor recorded a low temperature of 97.1 at 5 a.m. So since I gave you time on a clock, you have to convert that to hours after midnight. That's typically what you do with application problems in math. So how many hours after midnight does the low occur? Well, 5 hours, because 5 a.m. is 5 hours after midnight. Then the high body temperature occurs at 5 p.m. Okay, so how many hours after midnight is 5 p.m. is what that question is asking. And so the way that you figure that out is you say 12 noon plus 5. Okay, that's 17 hours after midnight. Okay, so 17 hours passes from midnight to 5 p.m. So 17 hours. Now, we're going to have to graph this, and it's the same thing. Make sure that you label your axes. This is body temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. And this is time. And this is being defined as hours after midnight. Okay, so we've defined it. Now we have to put a scale. Now if you notice here, this only goes from 97 to 99.4. So we don't really want this, we don't want to start at 0. We can just put a break, okay? And it's just you can just put a squiggle, okay, little squiggly line. That breaks up the graph, okay? And then we can say, well, this is 97, okay, and then we can count from there. This can be 97.5, this can be 98, this can be 98.5, and this can be 99. It's not the best graph because it's going to go off a little bit, but we'll just keep it like that. So what we have is we have, actually I'll change the scale. Do it right. Okay, so here's my break. Okay, and I'm going to say that this is 97. I'll say this is 98. This is 99. And this is 100, and that's degrees Fahrenheit. So, and then hours after midnight, we have to go up to 17, so I'm just going to count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. So 5 hours after midnight, okay, the low is 97.1. So that's going to be about right there. I'm going to label that. That's 597.1. And then 17 hours after midnight, which would be right here, okay, the body temperature is 99.4. So at 17, I'm going to have a point at 99.4, which would be about right there. And I'm going to label that 17, 99.4. And since it's periodic, we know that it goes from the minimum to the maximum, back to a minimum, and that this is going to repeat forever. Okay? To find A, it's the same thing. You do the maximum, which is 99.4, minus the minimum, which is 97.1, divided by 2. To find B, you're going to do 2 pi divided by the period. Now, that's the part that's different for this question. That's why I'm doing this example. The period goes from a minimum to a minimum, or a maximum to a maximum. But here we only have this increasing section. This is only half, okay? So we have to multiply by 2 to find the period. We have to say 2 times this distance. So 2 times 17 minus 5 is equal to 2 pi over 2 times 12. So what that means is it takes 12 hours to go from a minimum to a maximum. But the entire period of this graph is going to be 2 pi divided by 24 because The period is how long it takes to get back to the maximum, to complete one cycle of whatever we're talking about. Now, you can either reduce it here and get pi over 12, or you can see that this reduces to pi over 12. But either way, that's the b value. Now to find d, you're going to get these same values, okay? But you have 99.4 plus 97.1 divided by 2, okay? And